Yo, YouTube, back again with another video. As I always said, every video, thank you for the support and for the love on the videos. Like I said, I try to make these breakdown videos and just little nuggets of information. You know what I mean? To be able to kind of like share, because these are the kind of things that help me. They help me get to a place where I became better, and I got to a place where they did. And once they did, I wanted to give my knowledge back. So as I've been playing ranked since season 0 all the way up to now, you come across a lot of players who um, struggle. A lot of players who struggle. A lot of players who stay the same. And for one or two reasons, either one, they don't want to get better and they just want to, that's fun to them to stay bad and play that way. And you have other players like myself at the time who just didn't have the information. But there's no excuse anymore, right? I mean, we have AI, we have Google, YouTube, Twitch, you have everything, guides, you have all kinds of resources to get better. And so, I just hope to be just one resource. But I'm just gonna break down just two videos today on two controller players. So I used to be a controller player long time ago, and I am not anymore. But I was good enough to a certain point to where I know what works on controller, and we're going to actually talk about that. So obviously, as you can tell, I'm a mouse and key guy now, but we are going to talk about the strengths of the input specifically with controller. When I was playing Apex, controller was not the hot thing. It was mouse and key, and most controller players were switching to mouse and key. And it's funny now to see even those mouse and key players switch over to controller, and it's just a weird time. As I was getting really good on mouse and key, that was when controller was starting to get really, really hot and popular. And I was like, well, damn, right? If I had stayed on controller, I would have been fine. But I don't regret it because I learned something new. And having that knowledge of a controller and a mouse and key is a dual threat. So when I'm playing against guys, I know how to counter them. But yeah, so let's get into it, guys. So this first video is going to be, I don't know how to say his name properly, Satuki, um, controller player, Asian controller player. So we're going to break this down, right? So we'll watch the clip and then we'll go back and kind of talk about what made this a successful fight to win. All right, so let's break this down. All right, so I'm usually not a fan of my teammates being, behind while we're up here, taking a fight. I'm usually not a fan of that. But maybe he was doing this because he was looking for anybody who might want to try to shoot them in the back and maybe flank from the door that's right here, right? Maybe that was what his reasoning was to being here. Or maybe he dropped over here and looted that area, right? So that's another thing that I was thinking about. All right, so as for the clutch, right? So what you're going to see here is using the RE45 and he's using the triple take. So the RE45, if you guys don't know, most of you should know, but if you don't, the RE45 is a viable weapon again. It wasn't at a certain point because it got nerfed, and now it's back to not what it used to be, but it's still a viable option to use. It's a good gun. So you'll see a lot of pros and a lot of guys, rocking the RE45 for that close range instead of an SMG. And so you're going to see he has triple take, he has RE45 here, right? So he does a little bit of damage to the guy that's up top, but not enough to be a threat, more so to let them know, hey, this is where a guy is. One of the things you're gonna notice here is he's using this cover, right? I always say this, and I learned this more so from the Asian community when it comes to how they play. They ride cover, so they really like hug cover, and I've talked about this a little bit before. But if you watch certain players like Bolin, watch certain players like Roz, you watch uh, other guys, um, you know, they do a great job of staying very, very tight and close to cover that's around them. And, why is this important, right? Because, see, a lot of you guys don't really understand what it looks like to see yourself when you play. That's why it's always good sometimes when you're streaming and you have a buddy who's also streaming to go do a 1v1 and break down how you look to him versus how you think you look. See, a lot of guys think that they're staying tight and close to cover, right? They think that. But when you go look at yourself, you're actually really far out from cover. And your body's exposed. Your body's exposed, and like knowing player types and builds in this game, attributes to that, right? Because if you're playing somebody like Gibby, who's a bigger character, Caustic, who's a bigger character, Newcastle, those guys are going to start showing their body a little bit more when they're peeking out of cover to shoot. Versus if you're playing somebody like Rafe or Ash, they're going to be a little bit more concealed behind cover, even when they're doing like you know they're jiggle peeking, right? So one of the things you're going to notice here is he shoots the RE. And I believe he's going for a reload here, and now he goes center of the cover because he wants to be able to react to if a guy goes left or if a guy comes right. So this is high level, but it's simple once you understand it, right? It's simple for people who know how to do this and think this way. It's not so simple when you are trying to build that habit of doing this if you don't ever do it. So let's just slow it down. Actually, I sped it up, huh? All right, we'll go about right here. All right, so right now he's gathering information, right? So all he's doing right now is gathering information. Um, I'm not too sure where. Okay, so I'm assuming his teammates behind him, the Bangalore, right? So he's gathering information and he sees where he's about to get pushed, right? Pulls out the RE and look at what he's doing as he's doing this, right? Staying behind cover and he's riding his cover. Most guys are never this close to cover to where it's like right here in your face. But this is where you want to be if you have the opportunity to be, because your body is completely out of the picture for these guys to shoot. And so he's able to now stem to regen and also get the speed boost, and he wants to catch these guys off guard, right? So he hits them with the wide swing, and now this is where this can get very, very tricky. So if he doesn't stem here, he doesn't have the speed to be able to maneuver like he would want to. And him stemming is also giving him the HP boost, right? So he's gaining health, but he's also stemming to get the moment, to get the movement that he needs to be able to make what is about to happen. So as soon as he comes out of this, now this is where it gets dangerous. If you were any other character, this probably wouldn't work. So he's already like getting approached by two guys. This is where majority of the player base would panic. Majority of the player base would not know which target to identify and shoot, right? So let's kind of see what happens here. This is all in the moment. He targets the person who jumps out further versus the guy who's right here in the back, right? This has to be like a quick decision on knowing, okay, priority, right? So he takes priority on the guy who's closest to him, the guy who's the most eager, right? And look at the damage he's doing. Now, when you swing out that wide, you have to be able to do the damage that you're seeing here, because look at his HP. He lost shields. He's getting low on HP from this guy as well. Luckily, his teammate is not shooting, right? Luckily. But look at the damage he was able to do here. Gotta be able to put the damage out if you're going to make a play like this. So, does the damage, gets to knock, immediately target switches, right? Now, for all my guys out there who are on controller, who think like, oh, I need to be on PC or I need to be on mouse and key to be able to do certain things like target switching and all this kind of stuff, you're wrong, right? Here's a guy who's on controller who understands how to play his input. Also, let's pay attention to what he's doing here, mechanical wise. He's hip firing. He's hip firing this close. No need to really aim in, because aiming in isn't going to allow him to be able to target switch. So he's hip firing. Why is this important? Because if you know anything about controller, you know anything about aim assist, hip firing is king, right? At this range and closer. If you're not utilizing your hip fire, one, you're not utilizing the movement speed that you get from hip firing to be able to be a harder target to hit. If you're constantly still just aiming in because you see mouse and key players do that, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Mouse and key players like myself, we can aim in and track up close and still have the movement speed to be able to do it. And the control. If you're on controller, your control is hip firing from this range, because aim assist is going to kick in and it's going to be more beneficial for you as a controller player. So he knows that. He takes advantage of that. Does the damage here, and as he's doing the damage, the speed boost that he has is allowing him to be able to move back into cover. And look at how close he is to cover, guys. I said this in one of my other videos. Body touching cover. Body is touching the cover. Face is literally right here in front of the cover. This is how close you guys need to be when you're taking these type of fights, right? You don't need to be, like way over here and trying to fight this guy right here, right? That's how you die, because you're not making yourself a hard target to kill. So he goes in back into cover, switches out to the triple take. As he switches out to the triple take, you notice this guy now has wasted his shots and is now trying to panic and go into cover like himself. But at this point, it's too late, right? And look at where he is keeping his weapon. He's keeping his weapon level, right? He's not aiming, he's not aiming down here, right? And then having to adjust to move up to shoot this guy. This is what you call discipline, right? He's disciplined in terms of like how he plays, and his settings are where they need to be, because I don't know if he has stick drift or anything like that, but or his dead zones are like really low. But it's allowing, like I said, him to be able to control and keep everything like center of the screen. So as soon as he pulls out his weapon, he hits the shot, comes around the corner, hits the shot. So that's two guys down. Immediately, look at where he's at again. Look at where he's at, guys. Right here on his cover. Where's he at? Shoulder and body on cover. He's not super far out here trying to play, right? To where if this guy was able to come around this corner, he wouldn't even have to come all the way around to see him, right? Making himself a hard target. So he's forcing this guy to wrap all the way around to really see where he is. Plus it gives him time to reset, gather himself really quick, reload if possible. So now this guy makes a mistake. He's not utilizing cover, jumping out into the open and giving our guy a 4-shot opportunity here to be able to get the knock and get the kill and get the squad wipe, right? So he jumps out into the open, right? This is another mistake I see a lot of people do in Apex. Because the game feels so great to move in and everything like that, one of the things that you have to get out of the habit of, and it is a bad habit, I do it sometimes, is we love to jump. We love to jump all the time. And if you're doing that a lot, the problem with that is one, you're exposed, right? You can't move midair. There's no, I mean, tap strafe, sure, but you can't walk on air. And so there's no cover in the air. And it's a hard thing to do, which is hit your shots mid-air while somebody who's on the ground, especially Octane, who has that speed boost, is going to be a harder target for you to track while you're mid-air, right? So my suggestion for you guys, if you're jumping a lot, and if you don't know if you're jumping a lot, stream, go back and watch your VOD. If you notice that you're jumping a lot, whether that be jumping around corners like this guy, jumping just randomly, I would suggest you cut out the jumping from your game unless you know you really need to jump. That's a tip from me to you guys, okay? So let's keep going. And look at it. He's utilizing the hip fire, right? He's utilizing that close range aim assist on controller and keeping everything like center line, right? That's what you guys want to be doing when you're playing on controller, okay? So we do have another VOD here that I want to break down, but let's talk about some takeaways from just that simple 1v3. Utilize cover, body on cover, close enough to cover as you can be, right? Stay disciplined. Don't feel like you need to just rush, jump out there and be aggressive and get away from your cover. If you're on the controller, utilize hip fire. Keep your reticle as much as you can. Keep it center of the screen. Keep it center of the screen. That's discipline and it's practice, right? Keep that center. Don't ever try to bring it to where it dips down here and you have to move it up to adjust. Don't do that. As soon as you whip your weapon out, you want to be on target and like have that one shot accuracy, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, if you're jumping a lot, don't be that guy. Cut back on the jumping, cut back on the movement if you don't need it. Do what's needed for the fight to be won. Do what's needed for the situation. All right, so let's get into the second video. So the second video is another controller player. I believe most of these guys are playing on either a PlayStation controller or Xbox controller. But let's get into this one, right? So we got another guy who is utilizing the R9 here, and I don't know what his secondary is. It could be like a Nemesis. All right, so we'll watch the clip first, and then we'll break it down. He's also playing Octane. All right, so let's break this. Let's break this down. Let's break this down. All right, so yet again, right, we got another guy who's using Octane, and you know, pay attention to how these guys are using Octane, right? So right now he's got 8 seconds on his secondary stem, right? So that's not going to really be in use right now. No pad, full HP for the most part. And what we just saw was him utilize that R9, right? So what we're gonna do here is gonna break this down. So let's break it down. All right, so teammates are doing a great job here in terms of not being literally on top of each other, like in the same spot, right? They're doing a good job of saying, okay, I'm over here, you're over here. So if anybody comes in the middle, right, we have a cross that we could, utilize. Plus they have cover right here if they need to use it as well. All of this is cover, you know what I mean? So there's a lot that they can play off of here. Ballsy for the team, don't want to just push them like this, but that's what happens, right? If you're good, you punish guys for doing reckless stuff. So his teammate's doing some damage here. You notice there's a guy over here in the corner. He's able to do enough damage to help his teammate get at least one of those guys down. he immediately gets swung by this guy here. Because he's playing his cover, right? He was able to not be hit so much. If he was not playing his cover and let's say he hopped on top of this to help his teammate shoot over here, he would have probably got beamed and died. Or if he was on the other side of this cover right here, he would have got beamed and died. But see, this is why playing your cover is important, right? Because look at, he has the wall right here. He has this as well, playing it as well as he can right now. So he gets caught off guard. Immediately gets behind cover. Yet again, another video where look at how close he is to his wall. Right on it. Body on it. Right? Immediately uses what I call that right hand advantage. So, because he's on the left side of the wall, he now can aim out on the right. These guys that are coming inside of this what we call in CQB in real life, we call this a fatal funnel right here, right? So it's one way in, one way out, right? It's a fatal funnel. So they're coming through that fatal funnel. And when they come through, they have to look left here, right? Oh, sorry, they have to look right, excuse me. And so he has the advantage, right? He's going to see them before they see him. Now, where this team made a mistake, one guy should have went through this way, the other guy should have came around and went and got him from behind. They actually probably would have won if they did that. But they gave him the opportunity here because they didn't know the map well, they didn't know the spot well, and they didn't really have much IQ, obviously, right? They just thought this guy's weak. It's two of us. We should be able to kill him. You always want to stay disciplined and you always want to stay playing the right way, no matter if it's one guy, two guys, whatever. So he reloads here and he's ready to go. This guy makes the mistake by sliding in. I always talk about creating a separation from the guys, right? So make a 1v1v1 situation. And this is exactly what he wanted. This guy slides in and this is a easy shot to hit. But notice what he's doing as a controller player. He's utilizing hip fire here, right? So not aiming in, utilizing hip fire. When you're this close, hip fire, guys, especially when you're on controller, like, and if you don't hit those shots, then you have more work to do for yourself in the range. But you should be hitting this shot like 9 out of 10 times. So this guy slides in. He's able to get the HP boost off of getting the knock and repositions where he got the knock, which throws this guy completely off. This guy is wondering, wait, I thought he was on the right. Uses Octane's speed boost to be able to go and misdirect, which gives him enough time to reload, right? Yep, gives him enough time to reload. Now he backs up himself into a corner and he's utilizing that controller hip fire, that aim assist up close, right? This guy is completely like lost right now. He's aiming like over here in this direction, like just completely lost right now. And tries to get behind cover, but it's too late. And like I said, look at the HP that this guy has, right? Working with just a little bit of HP, but taking full advantage of like his opportunities. Yet again, another video where you're seeing two controller players utilize the strengths of their output of their inputs. Excuse me. Hip fire, keeping his aim center screen, right? Keeping his aim center screen, right? No dip in his aim, right? Like I said, if you guys are playing and you're trying to hip fire and everything's like dipping, then you're doing something wrong, right? So if I compare this to another controller player and we look at kind of what that looks like to not do in terms of the the aim, like the dip with the SMG, right? We're gonna kind of see, kind of what not to do here, right? So if we just kind of skip through, we'll kind of see what that looks like. So we have the R9 here, right? So you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about, right? So when you look at what I'm talking about, right? The R9 here, it's not gonna be center screen, right? And see what I mean? See how when he aims in here, he's already aiming from the bottom. He's already aiming like low versus high versus middle of the screen. He's aiming low. So when you're fighting and you have to aim low, doesn't matter if you're a mouse and key or controller, you have to do more to adjust. So look at where he aims in here. Look at where he aims in. This is right here, but a target will be up here. So that's time that you're not ready to shoot, and that's time where now you have to adjust. And when you look at that, you go, well, why is that such a big deal, right? And let me show you why it's such a big deal. So if we keep playing, when he engages a target, right? Tell me where he aims at here. So here's a target behind him. He's caught off guard, right? If his discipline was I always aim center mass of a target, he would have one clipped this guy. But because he's so used to aiming low, watch what happens. Look at where he's aiming. Look at where his gun is. His gun is aiming low. The target, this is center mass right here. So even with this amount of HP, he should be able to win this fight if he was aiming the right way, because he also has stems for HP, stems for speed to be able to throw this guy off, right? It's just a matter of discipline in terms of how you practice, but it's like I said, it's a matter of being able to keep that aim level, right? So look at where he's shooting. He's shooting, in this direction down low, but the target, like I said, guys, is up here. So we're already wasting bullets by shooting at the ground. So that time, like I said, to adjust is giving a player the opportunity who can hit you the right way to hit you. And then by this time, now he wants to move his aim up and try to adjust, which, like I said, if he had more in the clip here and he didn't just waste them on shooting at the ground and at this guy's feet, this guy switching weapons, he actually could have had the advantage here and killed him. But because he didn't, right? You see the dip again, right? You see the dip. His aim is starting to now go back down low again, right? Starting to go back down low. And now he's reloading. And now he dies, right? What do we see here, right? As the other guys who were fighting, he didn't utilize his stem. He didn't utilize the stem to be able to heal and get and maybe even misdirect here, right? That's a mistake. Mistake number 3, there was no cover between him and the guy because he got caught off guard. Okay, but if you get caught off guard, now you gotta make a play in terms of greatness. You gotta become great. This is the moment where you have to be great, and you have to one clip whoever just pushed you. But you can't one clip if you're aiming below, you're aiming low versus aiming center. Most those 2 guys that I showed you who were able to one clip, those guys with the SMG on controller, all aimed center mass to be able to just track and just trace all the way around. That's how you guys want to be. So as a controller player, guys, like I said, take this into your games, think about this, and add this. That's it for me. Peace.